We are Greg and Leah, the host of Evolve, the #1 podcast about relationships, and not just the tender or toxic romantic ones, but all kinds of relationships with many people, places, and paths.
And we aren't here because we know or understand it all, simply because we are working to evolve and asking others to join the evolution.
So join us in this next episode of Evolve.
Welcome to another episode of Evolve with
Greg
and Leah. I'm going to just hand the ball over to you right now because this is something that's on your mind. So I believe the topic is Stoicism. So go ahead.
Well, I am studying this. Well, we were in our quaint little town. We have such a nice
downtown area with so many little amenities.
And there's this cool bookstore there, and we were in it the other day, and this book,
shout out to Poor Richards.
Yeah, Poor Richard. And this book really jumped off the shelf.
Into my hands, and then I brought it to you.
Did you? Is that how
Yes.
it worked? No,
Yes,
that's not how it happened.
It is.
No.
I was in this humanitarian section, or I forget what's that, philosophy section. I was looking for the other book you wanted, which was
Marcus Aurelius,
the Magic
quotes.
or something. Yeah.
The quotes of Marcus
Something
Aurelius.
about that. So I was looking for that book, found this book, because you've been talking about the word Stoicism.
Has this ever happened to you? Like also this topic will come at you, and you'll see it in television, you'll see it in a program you're watching, and that's this whole Stoic mindset has been, even in my YouTube channel, I get, for whatever reason,
about Stoicism.
I must have clicked on it at one time. I still really don't know what a Stoic is. I always put my mindset of being Stoic was somebody that just had no emotion, just like.
I think that is kind of a true definition, though, and
not
negatively.
when you start. Well, I took the book I'm referring to. It's called A Handbook for New Stoics: How to Thrive in a World Out of Control. Oh
no, it's still going. I'm sorry. It looked like it was stuck on 138. It's okay.
Okay, so it's a 52-week, week-by-week lesson. So it jumped in my hand some kind of way.
Yeah, just like everything else that's good for you. Jumps in your hand by me.
Right. Well, if you've listened to us before, I read books to learn. And usually with a book, there is like the first chapter of the book, the second chapter you get to, and then they start repeating themselves, and I get frustrated with, you already told me this once, I got it. Now, you took an idea and made a big book out of it.
You also don't like stories. Like when people are, like in a nonfiction, when someone's sharing, like, okay, this is how you become this, and let's talk about how Johnny and Anna...
Well, that's what movies are for.
Yeah.
So, so that's why that film was...
I know someone else who doesn't like books that have fictions that have too much inner dialogue, like the person's thought that you're reading. Like, they hate that. So you just don't like when they repeat
So this
information.
is a week by week, so I'm really reading it really slow. I'm only on page 29 now, and I've been reading it. This is my third week.
Right, but you're only 1 week per chapter.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
so that's why it's going to take a while.
I'm on the third chapter, and the first two chapters were really, really good. It talked about...
Did you say the title of the book?
Yes, I did. A Handbook for New Stoics: How to Thrive in a World Out of Control. It's by Massimo Pigli. I am so sorry, Massimo.
Piglucci? I don't know. I'm sorry. We're going to butcher that completely.
Yeah, but kudos. Your work. And Gregory Lopez also is part of the author. And so, I've gotten... First two chapters was what are you really in control over, and why are you bothering even putting energy towards stuff you have no control over? But I'm on a third chapter, and I wanted to start with your thoughts, Leah, on what this says.
Yeah, I'm not reading this book at all. I'm kind of just getting the nuggets that you, like a mama bird, whatever you digest and puke back in me.
So, yeah. Maybe I should put my spectacles on.
I'll pause for technical difficulties. Reading glasses are necessary.
Right.
And light.
So, this person, Epictetus,
I feel like that's not the right way to say it, but that's okay.
Probably not. He was one of these Stoic philosophers back in... And every time I think of Stoic, too, I think of people in, like, Toga, and wreaths around their head.
I think that's because you've watched
big
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Big pillars, and someone's going to get crucified sooner or later. So.
Well, it's that era of, like, real knowledge being, passed on. But go ahead.
And some scribe in the corner writing his ass off, so... But he said this: "It is in our power to discover the will of nature from those matters on which we have no difference of opinion. For example, when another man's slave has broken a wine cup, we are very ready to say at once, these things happen in life. Know then that when your own cup is broken, you ought to behave in the same way, as when your neighbor's was broken. Apply this principle to higher matters. Is another child's wife or is another child or wife dead? Question mark. Not one of us, but would say such. This language is weird.
Well, they also had slaves still, so
right.
This isn't America. This has got to be like Rome or Greece or.
This is, back in somewhere a long time ago when he said it. Apply these principles to a higher matters. Is another child or wife dead? Question mark. Not one of us, but would say such is a lot of man. But when one's own dies, straightway one cries, alas, miserable am I. But we ought to remember what our feelings are when we hear it on another. And the basic principle is, so it appears that this is what he says. This epicus is at his most frank. It would appear that Stoic philosophers encourage us to adopt a purposely callous attitude towards our own bad luck by viewing it as though it had happened to somebody else.
Well, and you kind of said that your idea originally of Stoicism was very much like someone who had no emotion.
Right.
And I don't think it's no emotion, it's properly using our emotions.
And that's what it comes on. From a modern standpoint, this isn't easily advice to swallow, as we strive to cultivate empathy towards other people's situations. In fact, the Stoic, including Epicus, aren't that callous. They are very clear that the goal of Stoic practice is not to turn us into lumbering robots incapable of emotion responses, but that because it strips us of humanity. Because that would strip us of our humanity. As Stoic philosopher Seneca writes to his friend Lucullus. I love these guys' names, man.
We're going to butcher it. We're really going to show our Greek history ignorance here.
The first thing which philosophy undertakes to give us a fellow feeling with all men, in other words, sympathy and sociability. So if the Stoic promotes the sense of shared feelings, what then is Epicus trying to say? And it goes into contrast that he goes on to say that empathy, though you make think is a good thing, it is actually to our destruction. Because we can have empathy on someone else, but when we start having empathy on ourselves, and that's what most of us do, it said, we have sympathy for somebody else. The person down the street here, his Great Dane passed away, and their family's devastated.
Yeah.
But from our aspect of it, that's life. Dogs die. And though we have sympathy for them, but if that happened to us, we would automatically have empathy towards ourselves.
So what are you implying, or what is the book implying, is the difference between the two?
That empathy, where I had to find what it said, and it was...
What do you think before you read that it was?
Well, just, I didn't think you had...
Sympathy.
Empathy for somebody else, I could see that. Outwardly, feelings or carrying that same burden with them, kind of thing. Empathy. Sympathy for somebody is, you can give them advice and set them straight, and you can understand what they're going through, but you can't feel what they're going through. You don't feel it at the same time.
Yeah,
So
I feel like it's such a gray line, the two.
It is.
Feelings / action / behavior of sympathy and empathy.
But there should be a balance and what this is saying, there is a inner reality that's happening.
Right.
And there's an outer reality that's happening. And the balance of the two, the word that they use, which is a word I heard only one other person in my life say, is the word equanimity. EQUANIMITE.
Equanimity,
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it.
And which is my friend described it as is having a peaceful mind, but they're talking about having a balance to know what inward reality and outward
It's
reality.
the way of saying equal. Another way of saying equal. Right,
equal
right.
mindset. So that way you're balanced, because when you start, so your dog does die.
Right.
And the exercise here is give yourself the same advice you'd give
Oh, so
your
it's really gearing
neighbor,
towards...
rather than taking on, my dog died and the whole world should be... You see the contrast of empathy? When you say, my dog died, and it only happens to me, and no one else is involved, and da-da-da-da-da, and you get so involved, it's all selfish and whatever. Whereas if you just gave yourself...
I think that's kind of how we live our life, though, and that's where we're trying to evolve out of,
Right.
is that mindset of it's all about me. We're born believing it's all about us because as infants, like I think we've talked about this before, that an infant learns, I cry, I get my need met.
Right.
So it must be about me. And we don't really have a lot of societal or parental authority figures teaching us it's not about you. Even marketing is about, it's about you. Don't you want this? Don't you want to feel better? Don't you need to feel this? So it's very hard to transition to this kind of belief, I feel like.
And it's keeping, like it said, there's not to be calloused. It is actually,
Right, yeah.
because
Yeah.
that would be human.
Inhuman, yeah.
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 So you are actually, and it went on to say that empathy can be, I got to find it here. Empathy is actually destructive. And that was interesting.
Yeah, I would like to hear why they think that, for sure. While you're looking for that, I want to read the definition difference between empathy and sympathy, just for our own stuff. I like looking up words. I keep a dictionary by my bed, but it sure does help that now we have it on our phone. I can just type it in real real quick. So empathy is a noun, and it says the psychological identifying with, experiencing emotions, thoughts, and attitudes of another. Sympathy is defined as the act or state of feeling sad or compassion for another. So did you hear me?
Yes. And it says here, it does say the same. To sympathize with another's distress, according to Merriam-Webster's Collegial Dictionary, it is to care for or feel sorry for about another's grief or misfortune. To empathize, by contrast, means that to the extent possible, you share the other person's experience.
Right. And I think I've heard this before, years ago, and maybe from the pulpit or whatever, but to empathize, Christ empathized with people, the hurting out there. He could feel and identified with their thoughts, feelings, emotions, attitude, versus just oh, I feel bad for you.
So this is what it says here. The Stoics suggest that we should cultivate sympathy more than empathy. But modern philosophy and psychology provide some backing for this ancient insight. Yale University psychologist Paul Bloom and City University of New York philosopher Jesse Prinz have made compelling cases that empathy is ethically problematic because, as with all highly emotional responses, it is easy for others to manipulate.
So maybe I would say it like this. It's kind of like if you're spiraling and I empathize with that, I start spiraling with you.
Right. Empathy also tends to be disproportionate to the situation. We feel more empathy for people we know or see directly.
Right. That's not untrue.
And empathy does not scale up. It is impossible to feel empathy for anonymous thousands or even millions of people.
Oh, I see what you're saying. When you were mentioning that earlier, I didn't know what you meant by
regardless of how deserving they are of it. By contrast, sympathy is informed by reason and is therefore more wide-ranging. So you're using your actual intelligence with sympathy because you're using reason. Therefore, they're saying that the Stoic says cultivate a sympathy for people and yourself rather than empathy because you're getting emotionally attached to something.
So what is the practice? Because you said every week this has homework.
This has homework.
How do you practice this applicable?
This homework that I have to do is pretty simple. Each day, write in the space below on the following pages about your the question is this. You take either something that was a problem during the day in the past or something that you have worried about in the future. Okay. And then you coach yourself through this by giving yourself
advice. Okay.
And, it is that I won't read you my response today. That's kind of personal, but still, it is finding something out and say, and then. Well, you're basically life coaching yourself.
Ooh, hey, that's exactly what I do.
It is.
A nice plug for myslc.org. Head on over there if you want some life coaching for yourself if you're not ready to coach yourself yet.
So this is a way different way of thinking
for you.
me.
Yeah, right.
A couple things that I were stretched, an exercise that stretched my muscles here was I don't typically write. I never. If I'm writing, it's to take notes, and my notes, no one else, not even myself, is going to read them. It's just it's like pointing contacts with certain things that people say. I have to look at you and hear your see your lips
You're
move,
auditory.
and hear you talk, and I got to be involved energy with you in order to learn from you. And in the book, I can do that if you don't piss me off.
Okay. All the authors out there, please write your books so that they
don't
benefit
piss me
Greg.
off. Yeah.
Well, I will say a few months ago, I'm talking about you writing stuff down. You got this little book here that I just saw earlier, this little notebook you bought to keep kind of a journal of your investments.
Right.
Which we're going to talk on another episode about our relationship with money and how that's evolved. But like you started taking notes on that in the first week, you had some really like insightful reflections.
And I got to a point with that where I wasn't taking notes as much, but it was really because you start getting you're developing your own strategies.
Yeah,
we digress.
But I was just correlating it to you talking about how hard it is to write. As much as you say that, it seems like every time you do implement writing or journaling something down, I think maybe men are more opposed to like, I don't want to journal. It sounds like a diary.
Right.
But when you do, like, I feel like you always come away with like insightful, like, wow, I didn't even think that. Or wow, as I wrote it out and then I look back or as I was sitting, I was also able to reflect on other things, past, present, future, whatever. I feel like you get a lot of insight. So I feel like I will always advocate for journaling for everybody, every gender, because it does give you silence and the time and space to listen to yourself.
I agree. I think, and I've added it to my quiet times, not as thoroughly as you are.
I journal almost every day, but I won't say every day. But
it's a great tool to confirm what you're thinking about. It also, one of the things that this book is really, these three chapters that I've only been in. Now this could get to 4th chapter and piss me off, and I don't want to listen to it no more. So I want to say that already. I like it so far.
Disclaimer.
So yeah, but keeping mindful of the present moment is one excellent tool to walk thoroughly through these things. You know what you like. The 3 things that I've learned this week, these past 3 weeks, or learning, I should say, applying and trying to apply, is
the way you're evolving is
asking myself on a moment by moment situation basis, what of the situation do I really have complete control over, and what is not in my control,
which is very little.
The things that I'm learning, things that I'm learning, and it really sounds like, what are you, a freaking kindergartner? You don't know this? Is that the only thing that I'm in control over is my thoughts and my actual direct actions. There is nothing else I have control over.
Why do you think that we think we have so much more control than that?
I think there's a programming in all of us. I haven't figured that out yet, but I figure it out,
we'll let you know. When we arrive. We'll tell everyone how to get here. I agree with you. I think that I've spent, even myself, a lot of my life, I don't know, feeling like I had a lot more control than I have. And I think we also deceive ourselves. I think we also think when we worry in the future, that somehow can help us have control of what could happen. Like when we rehearse an argument or we rehearse a conversation with someone, it does something inside of us that makes us feel like we have control of what could happen, the outcome.
And again,
it never goes as we
There
rehearse.
is an inner reality and there's an outer reality that's happening. And the inner reality to everyone is their truth. I mean, it really, if their dog died and it's the end of their world, it's their dog died and the end of the world, and you should join hands with them.
That would be empathy, though.
That would be empathy. That's how we seem to naturally bend when something of disastrous occurred to us. And on the same token, the Stoic mindset is don't put so much energy on the great things that happen to you. that shit happens to you.
Yeah.
Shit happens, and that's that.
So, I mean, I feel it's very much like we go to a meditation group, and they are Buddhist, and Buddhists do very much feel like, suffering happens. Just accept it. Like, it's an acceptance that's there for the positive and the negative.
Well, I think we talked about this before, and I heard a friend of mine. And actually, the friend of mine referred to it as a Stoic practice, that there is a certain amount of suffering that you have, and let's take body training and
sorry if it's a little bit loud.
Nice
here.
truck,
Hold
guy.
on. Wow.
Look at the size of that muffler, man. That's beautiful.
That's a big truck. Sorry about that.
Oh,
We will.
I'm sorry. You're driving a Dodge. It does sound good, but it is a Dodge. That probably will have some controversy on there. I'm a Chevy guy, so
Yeah. I'm just not a loud vehicle person anymore in my life.
Chevy
Never was.
hasn't impressed me lately, but anyway.
We're not getting sponsored by any of these places.
Buy Tesla. So anyway, where were we before the exhaust demon came through?
But I was just saying as well, like that acceptance mentality, that's something we've been evolving into, which we are going to do another episode of unserving beliefs that we've held on
Right.
to. We'll dive into multiple topics as quickly as possible. But yeah, just that acceptance of.
Well, you're talking about
is.
suffering and the amount of suffering we all have, whether it be, so you can body train or exercise.
Yeah.
And there's that people that have exercised all their life and dropped dead, going on a jog. But there's some type of suffering that's involved. You could either control that suffering to some degree
With your choices. I'm going to choose to work
so
out,
there
which
is,
sucks.
you can move that. I'm using my hands like everybody sees what I'm doing, but you can move that scale by eating healthy or exercising.
Well, and I just mentioned this in the last episode. I do like a stretch and share, like maybe twice a week, where I just share whatever's on my, kind of like this, but I'm doing it during exercise and stretching. And I had just shared that as well, like that you choose your suffering. And you just said this morning on the way to the gym, you're like, I gotta go, but I don't feel the motivation. And I said, sometimes motivation is just one step at a time. I step to the gym, the next step to the gym, because we walk over to the gym. It's just, that's motivation. And then once you get there, I am sorry for all the loud noise and distractions. It's a busy place here today. But yeah, just sometimes we're looking for motivation, waiting for inspiration to hit us like an asteroid from the sky. Sometimes just doing it. Just do it. Whatever that is for you. Whether that is making the right food choices. Whether that's choosing to be a stoic instead of someone who's so demonstrative and dramatic all the time. Like, it's a choice. Do I want to be dramatic? Does that help anybody? Or do I be a stoic and be a little wiser and calmer, which brings other people peace? When you're calm, like, that's something I think you have a very good handle on. When there is emergencies or a panicking situation, like, you're not dramatic typically. Like, I get more freeze mode.
My molecules in my brain and body move like 400 times faster than the average person. So when things go out of control, they caught up to me. So,
maybe that's what it is.
So I can actually respond better. I
don't know what it is.
When shit's happening and going crazy,
but
I can I can see it now.
Well, we were just talking about that earlier.
In order for me to be at a level of most average people, I got to smoke an immense amount of pot so that I can slow down. That is absolute truth. They're speaking for me.
I think we talked about it in previous episodes with your ADHD, and your parents were advised to give you Ritalin. And you just didn't get it at that point. And there wasn't any other options. There was no other alternatives. And
caffeine.
It has the opposite effect for you.
Maybe it just speeds me up over to past the no return and circles me back around to zero. I don't know. But yeah, those two factors I've been part of my chemistry.
I think that you're very emotional, you're better, like knee-jerk, responsive person. Like, you have a lot of outbursts
that is
in everyday life. When situations that are emergency arise, you're very calm.
Well, it appears to be calm to everybody else. It's still knee-jerk and fast action, and I give orders.
Yeah,
Yet,
but it's not as dramatic feeling for some reason. But maybe just because that's the actual space it fits in best.
I think at the time when we were on that boat, when we first got our maiden
Yeah.
voyage to the
Oh,
boat,
God.
and the guy that we bought the boat from said, "Don't go out with all your family the first time. Take it out with you and your wife, and just get to be familiarized with it." What did we do?
Take family out.
We took the whole family out.
Not everyone, but we did take too many people. And then it broke
Everybody's
down in the middle of the lake.
Yeah, everybody's panicking, and
I wouldn't say panicking, but it wasn't like we were scared we were going to drown or die. We were in a small lake.
we were
could
going to
see the
crash into a
edges.
dock.
And then we had an oar that was like the size of my arm. It didn't even reach the water. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I'm like screaming
3
and
kids
yelling.
and a dog, and
And I was having fun, but I also was like, you were actually angry at screaming. But yeah,
I
that
was
was
not applying my stoic.
your new stoic attitude.
No, I was.
But yeah, we gotta. We're almost at our time here. So, what do you think you want to share, or what advice would you push forward? I know you're still learning this, but like, what do you want to encourage others?
Actually, I am not interested in giving my advice like that. I would like to hear what other people think.
Okay.
And what if you could look up this book, I'm sure you could find some kind of YouTube something about it. Or what do you think about the Stoic philosophy?
Yeah.
And just I'm just learning it. I'm open to all kinds of things. I mean, to learn new ways of, and I know what this has done for me.
So far, in just
So
3
far,
weeks.
in
Yeah.
3 weeks, has provided me a whole lot more peace in my head. In the middle of people around me spinning out of control.
And I really feel like things come to us at the right time. And
Like I said,
feel like
this book just came out of the shelf and landed in my
Yeah,
hands.
so magically.
So magic. I believe in magic.
I believe in magic. Yeah, if you've ever seen Paul Blart, you'd know what scene I'm talking about. But
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, I would say, so of the two of us, who do you think has been in our marriage and our time and our relationship the more stoic, if
Oh,
at
you
all?
definitely.
Like, would you say that I am a stoic?
If there was an outward appearance of stoicism in my old
Understanding of it.
I would
Right,
say
right.
yes, because you control your emotions most of the time. And in the Stoics' philosophy, like, it's the intentions that I have control over. There's not the actions of some things.
Okay.
So, and I get upset. I have in past and probably will in the future have gotten upset.
Truck starting again.
Because I didn't understand or didn't know your complete intentions on an issue.
True.
So in the Stoics' philosophy, here's the thing: like going to work and being there on time.
Yes.
Okay, the only thing you have control over is your intentions to get there.
And I liked when you shared that. I think that was from week 1 or something.
And I
like
used
that.
to be the
Yeah.
guy. There is no reason why you're not here on time. In fact, your ass needs to be here early.
Because you were looking at the action.
And
like,
so
you
I've
didn't
always
get here, you
spent
didn't do
many
it.
of my life getting there early, so I didn't get in trouble. That's my tapping my foot. I spent many of my life trying to get there early, so I didn't get in trouble. But the point I'm talking about is you're only in control of your intentions, and you can't even control what the boss thinks about you getting there.
But again, see, this is one of those parts I said. We have this delusion that we can.
Oh, yeah.
So
So
when I show up on time, he's going to think I'm amazing.
Or if you didn't show up like I have been in a management role most of my life. I've owned a company or two, and at the same time, I feel the ownership of it. So if something goes wrong on my watch, it's my fault.
Even when you're not the owner. You're
Even
saying.
when I'm not the owner, even when
Yeah.
I felt that in this current situation I'm in now. It's like, wait a minute, I have to remind myself. I'm the only thing I can do is I can be the best husband, I can be the best worker, I can be the best at the particular moment, because my best.
And your intentions can be the best.
Right.
Because your actions, you might think your best isn't my best. Like your idea, like, because remember when we first met, I'll share this story real fast.
Oh,
but
your roses, yeah.
He thought, like, all women love flowers. I think maybe the first week we were married, you brought, like, flowers home every day. And I was like, finally I said, like, please don't do this.
You're making my house
Like, I
funeral
just
home.
don't like cut flowers. I don't like flower stores. And then we move here to Colorado where the area we live in, many people, I will say, they don't have the cut, fresh, beautiful lawns of South Florida that were
manicured and
fertilized and all these things.
The,
they're wildflowers in their yard that come up
vainness
every
of it
month,
all,
every
yeah.
year, and I love that. So you want to give me a plant, I will love it. You want to give me cut flowers from the store, I'm not really gonna. But like, yeah, you understood that as that's the best. This is the best I can give her, but it wasn't what I thought was best. So again, all you can do is your intention, because your action, even though you're doing that action with the intention of caring and loving and thinking of someone else, it might not be how they receive it. So you're not in control of that part. But
we also spend
we have control.
Spend a lot of time trying to avoid things that are not in our control, or trying to have things that are not in our control.
Yeah.
I mean, say for instance, her promotion, and this is one of the examples that you're up for a promotion, but you don't get it. It's you may have done everything possible, but
right.
It could rain today, and the boss's wife pissed him off. Anything
and
could
he passes you over,
and he doesn't give you the promotion. I mean, there is all kinds of circumstances that you have no control over. And traffic is probably one of the biggest ones that we all...
I will say you've evolved very well in that. You used to be a road rager, but you're good now.
Yeah.
Better. So, well, we're at our 30-minute mark, and this is a new thing that's come up in our life, and Greg was really excited to share it because he's, like he said, like you just heard, he's gotten a lot out of it so far in just 3 weeks. I'm really impressed because, he usually doesn't last this long in a book. So
I'm doing it every day. I mean, I've been doing this.
And there's homework every day.
And maybe that's why I enjoy it. It's like someone.
Oh, I feel like that's not a you thing, but okay.
Well, I
like
don't
homework,
mind.
I mean, but
I don't mind learning. I always want to learn. I'm just. It's
yeah.
hard to learn when someone wants to make money on the new philosophy they have, and
this is definitely not a new philosophy.
They repeat it over and over again,
and hopefully it will continue to grow on itself, build on top of itself, and really scale out as you go through 52 weeks. But we'd love to hear, like you said, your feedback on Stoicism, what your thoughts are on that, where you're at in that mindset of acceptance and balance. Really, I guess that's the best word. Like if you say Stoic, I think balanced, a balanced person. So yeah, we'd love to.
That's been kind of one of the first mantras that I think that everything in my body, my mind has been seeking balance. I mean, because when when we go on in the RV trips and we get to a new campsite, we'd always want to balance the RV because we know
the benefit of
the refrigerator works better. We're not rolling out of the bed. The water flushes better. I mean, all kinds of things happen better when
things are balanced.
Your RV is balanced.
So many
sometimes it takes
applications.
I mean, how many times did we take forever trying to get? Oh, that wheel's got to get higher. This wheel is back and forth. And
that's the whole point of Evolve, this podcast in our life, and what we're working towards is always on that seesaw of life, like, oh, a little over here, nope, a little over here.
And when you do get it balanced, then it rains, and then
something externally affects your balance. Right. It's true. So, all right, well, here we are at the end. Greg, you're...
Oh yeah, like, subscribe, and I didn't want to hear your comments. I really do. Comment, please. Tell me what you think of Stoic, and if you've read this book, tell me more. I'd like to hear your comments.
Yeah, and we do want to start incorporating book reviews and book recs. I will say book recommendations into each one because that's how we're going to grow, is knowledge and learning and educating ourselves.
I recommend the first 3 chapters of this book.
So far, he's good with it. So thank you for another episode of Evolve and hanging in here with us with all the different distractions and the noise today. My gosh, we apologize. If I can edit it out, we will. If not, you know what? It's just life. That's what happens. Hey, we're being stoic. Yeah. So until next time, everyone, thank you for joining us and be evolving people.